So as we kick off 2024, I would like to make an announcement right here at the beginning. Kind of taking a page out of the Star Wars book, we're going to change the name of the tagline to The Robert Adams and the Chris Adams. I feel like that's a really good title. It works for Star Wars. It should work for us. Anyways.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Wrong video. What is going on? Welcome to 2024. We are the Cinefanatics. My name is Robert Adams.
And I'm Grogu.
And you're Grogu. Yeah. What a stupid title. We'll talk about that here in a little bit.
Oh, you're just coming in hot already. Oh, yeah, Star Wars. You're effing up.
2024, new year, new us.
No.
Yeah. Well, at least the background's changed a little bit. So...
New year, new us. We're playing different videos other than the intro.
Yeah. Forgive me. It's been a couple of weeks. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be clicking on or whatnot. So, anyway.
Listen, if you guys have been following us for any specific amount of time, you know that we do hiatuses typically in the summer and in the winter time, and for this show at least. And every time we come back after about 2 weeks off, we don't know how to function.
No,
ever.
Not really.
So maybe in 3 weeks we'll be back to back to snuff.
We'll be back to normal. All right, so let's get the YouTube things out of the way. Everyone knows how that is. Streamlabs.com//Cinefanatics. I haven't had to say the word slash in a couple of weeks, so forgive me. /Cinefanatics. If you feel like that you want to donate anything, any questions, comments, issues, complaints, streamlabs.com/Cinefanatics, a good place for that. Also, patreon.com/Cinefanatics. If you feel like we are worthy of your support and you have the means to support us, please hop on any tier that is good for you there. There's the $1 and $5 tiers. I will talk about more of what's coming up on the Patreon here in a little bit. Let me see. Let's go ahead and jump over some of this stuff. This is a new year, so we're going to kind of like juggle some things around here. Let's go with what movies have you watched over this past couple of weeks?
Was I supposed to watch movies?
Yeah, I would say for the most part, most of mine have just been rewatches. Like the Marvels just came out on VOD, so I got to rewatch the Marvels, and I really enjoy it. It's a fun movie. Kamala Khan and her family. Kamala Khan is easily the best part of that entire movie, hands down. But like her family's a lot of fun too, so I really enjoyed watching it again.
I've not watched pretty much anything new. I've just been kind of chilling back and trying to exist and vibe. So
yeah, I get that. The only new movie I watched, of course, was the Mean Girls that came out last week. Because of course I did a review. It's up on the channel right now. Spoiler free, even though it's pretty much the same exact movie, only with different actors to a certain extent and singing, which you probably didn't know from the trailer, which is really weird. I actually saw like a marketing thing that they were, I think it was like Paramount that came out and said like, yeah, the reason we didn't put any kind of hint or sign in the trailer that this is a musical is because people wouldn't watch it. And I'm like, that should tell you something.
It's goofy. It's goofy that they do that because, like, literally Wonka is making a solid amount of money in the theater right now.
But Wonka wasn't advertised really as a musical either.
No, but it is a musical, and people are seeing it, and that's what matters here.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, La La Land made a ton of money, and Greatest Showman made a ton of money.
Color Purple, I don't think was advertised as a musical either. Other than it may, I can't remember if there was a trailer that said like based off the hit Broadway musical.
There was some singing in the trailer.
Okay, but yeah, otherwise, like Greatest Showman, I believe was advertised as a musical.
Yeah, Greatest Showman was, La La Land was, like
La La Land definitely was.
Like, and regardless, it doesn't actually matter if these movies are advertised as musicals or not. It's the fact that they are musicals. And they made a lot of money. So the whole idea that people don't want to go see musicals is way out the window. That's not true.
Yeah, and like I know I've heard like a lot of people say that they don't like watching musicals because it's really fake. That like all of a sudden everyone on the screen is all singing the same song. They all happen to know the same song. They're all doing a choreographed dance and stuff. And I'm sitting there thinking like, let's expand this same kind of logic outside of musicals, like rom-coms. How many things do you see in rom-coms that if you were to try to reenact that in real life, you'd probably have a restraining order against you?
Right.
Or is that just me? I don't know.
Somebody would be trying to cancel Mr. FOX for what he pulled on Meg Ryan.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. Like there's a certain limit to it, but the rest of it, yeah. Action movies. Like the stupid was it cliche of like the hero walks away while the explosion's behind him. That never happens.
I won't see the explosion. I'm going to do this.
First of all, I want to see that explosion. Like, there's a reason why I was such a big fan of Mythbusters. They made stuff go boom. Jamie want big boom. So I love watching the explosion. Two, if I'm that close to it, I'm probably not sitting there just casually watching it. I'm probably trying to get the out of the way because I don't want to be anywhere near those big explosions like that. So there's a leap of logic in some of these. Anyways, yeah. I thought it was okay. Again, the my review for Mean Girls is up on the channel here. Go check that out after you're watching Tagline. Thank you. Otherwise, yeah, I haven't really watched anything new. I'm eager to dive into some new movies as well. Especially like I'm really ready to crank out some horror. Voice already did reactions to a couple of horror trailers coming out this year. The First Omen looks pretty good for a legacy prequel. So interested in that. Not a huge fan of the original Omen, but it is a good movie. I just need to watch the sequels. And then Abigail. Abigail was one that was very surprising. It's done by Radio Silence, the same guys that did Scream 5 and Scream 6. Also did Ready or Not, which is a phenomenal horror movie.
It's a shame that movie is probably not going to be up my alley because it looks like a lot of fun.
Abigail?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's really cool because there's a huge like air of mystery. Not only the cast is stacked. That is an amazing cast. Melissa Barrera, Giancarlo Esposito, Catherine Newton, and what's his face that played Blob in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You can't remember his name off the top of your head right now either, huh?
It's like Kevin
Durant. No. Is it Kevin Durant or
Kevin Durant?
One of them's a basketball player.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, that's a very good looking movie. I would recommend, Chris, you could probably watch Ready or Not, I believe, if I remember correctly. Well,
no.
To a certain extent.
That's the one where she's going to meet her like new husband's family or whatever, and they put her through that weird game.
Yeah.
Yeah, now pass.
It's a fun movie though. It's really good. So
I hear there's a lot of splody that happens that I probably wouldn't be interested in.
There is some splody, but you've seen worse easily. It's persons there and all of a sudden blood just all over the place. There's no real actual gore involved in it. But
gross.
It's fun. Anyways, yeah, that's it for all we've seen and done so far on this channel. As far as what we have coming out, again, if you are part of the Patreon, patreon.com/cinefanatics, big news here. I know we talked about this briefly before we went on our hiatus at the end of December. Next week, January 24th, after the Tagline, we're going to be doing something kind of the same, but a little bit different. Typically, we'll do, if you're at the $5 tier on our Patreon, we do like the trivia hangouts where everyone just plays movie trivia, much like a much beloved trivia show that we all used to enjoy, the Movie Trivia Schmodown.
It's dead now.
Yeah. So we basically are still doing that, but that's on Patreon. If you're at the $5 tier, you can join us. We are doing something different with it this month. This month, while we are still playing, and if you're at the $5 tier, you could play. This year, we're also going to be broadcasting it live, so you get to play along in the chat as well. Now, what we're doing, we're doing phase 1 through 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So this is going to be huge. If you love the MCU, much like we do, next week after Tagline, roughly 8 Pacific, 11 Eastern, we will be doing a live stream of everyone who's a part of our Patreon at the $5 tier will be able to play with us, going toe-to-toe against one another, trying to see who knows the most about the MCU. This is going to be a lot of fun. So again, hop on to Patreon, patreon.com/cinefanatics. That's a $5 tier. You can join us for this match next week, or you could join us live in the chat and be able to play along. I will tell you, I am getting myself very well prepared because I've got my study material right here.
I'm not studying a lick. I'm going based off of what I already know, and I'm pretty confident that what I already know is a lot.
Yeah, last time you and I did any kind of like MCU trivia, you barely edged me out on that. Like you were just barely.
A W is a W.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll see who's getting the dub this time. It could be me. It could be any of our patrons. There's a lot of people that follow us that have a lot of movie knowledge, and especially MCU.
If you want to come try to flex your MCU knowledge on us and see if you can top us, beat us, feel free to jump on that $5 Patreon tier. And if you want to be visible on camera, you are more than welcome to join us that night for the trivia. We will be broadcasting every patron who joins us. They will be on screen if they so choose to join us that night. So, yeah, an option. Otherwise, stay in the chat and just have fun watching the mayhem.
Yep.
And then join us later because you don't want to miss these Patreon trivia nights. Usually they're not broadcasted. Usually we just do them in our Discord. So don't think that you have to sign up for something that you're going to be on camera for every single week or every single month. That's not going to happen too often. It's going to happen probably once every so often, but feel absolutely free to jump on there and join us next month.
We're kind of using this as a gauge to see if we're able to do these again. So open for big turnout.
So please mark it in your calendars. Come hang out.
Anyways, and then January 31st is going to be our Patreon watch along. Not sure what movie we're doing yet on that. We should have that figured out probably within the next day or two. So we will let everyone know once we know that.
That's right. We didn't figure that out during our hiatus. We were taking a break. Also, life has been crazy.
Yeah. So next thing we have coming up, January 26th, Friday, January 26th is going to be the marquee. This is our annual anticipation where we're going to be ranking our most anticipated movies of 2024. And there's a huge list. This is going to be a lot of fun. I mean, we got Mufasa, Dune, Furiosa, Beetlejuice. Myself, I'm a huge fan of Terrifier, so I'm so looking forward to Terrifier 3. And, of course, Deadpool 3, which is probably, spoiler alert, that's probably going to be our S tier. Because I don't know anyone who's not anticipating that movie. So,
also, again, I think it's hilarious that Dune was on our list last year and it's going to be on our list again this year.
There's going to be a couple of those, actually.
Yeah.
So we will cover that as well as we get to them.
Anyways,
let's go ahead and jump into some movie news, hopefully with the correct video this time.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Good evening. This is what's happening in your world tonight.
We apologize for the interruption.
back to you.
This is the part where I lay out the box office numbers now. Keep in mind, I was not doing box office numbers last weekend, so I don't have the numbers to say like, hey, this is where it was last weekend. Well, actually, I do have that. I'm just kidding. But we don't have the recollection of what my opinion was, what any of our opinions were on these things, where they placed last week. So starting off, number one. What do we think number one is?
Well, I would go ahead and venture a very strong guess that it's Mean Girls. I say strong guess because I actually already know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say Beekeeper? No, it's not Beekeeper. It's Mean Girls. Mean Girls is number one with a total rake-in over the weekend of 33,610,910. I did a very specific number there. I decided I was going to do that halfway through saying it. Number two is actually Beekeeper. Did you guess that was number 1? Sorry, it's number 2. Beekeeper is number 2. That's that Jason Statham movie where he keeps bees.
Accurate description.
That's a very accurate description of that movie. It made a little over 18 million, almost 19 million in its opening weekend.
Not the
bees!
Probably the most quoted deleted scene of all time.
Right. Number 3, surprisingly at number 3, I guess it's because a whole lot hasn't really been coming out lately to combat it. 5 weeks in, Wonka is sitting at number 3 right now, which is pretty good. Like I said earlier, Wonka is making some money. It's got a total domestic take-in right now of about 179 million. So it's doing pretty good. I mean, worldwide, we're looking at over $500 million worldwide already. So Wonka's it's going to get a sequel. It's going to be called Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's from the 70s. They're just going to put it back in theaters again.
You know, that I'm curious as to if they could do a sequel, what exactly they would do with it, because I mean, I would assume it's just about the beginnings of him opening the factory and probably, well, I would say him dealing with the competitors like Slugworth, but that was actually the Wonka. He had all those competitors that he had to deal with. So I'm not sure what else he would do. Like bringing over the rest of the Oompa Loompas. Is there like some kind of like major battle with the Oompa Loompas that don't want to travel to Wonka's factory?
Who knows? I actually do think that they could actually make a sequel. I think there's still room for at least one more story between Wonka and the original movie.
I think so too. I just don't know what it could be.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything of substance, which is probably why I'm not a screenwriter and I just do YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
That skill not required for this.
Well, the whole thing would be establishing the factory, establishing the brand, growing it, making it bigger, and whatever personal battle Wonka needs to fight during all of that, I'm sure.
The sequel should be all about Grandpa Joe and his scam. Yeah, all about the grandparents who absolutely refuse to lift their finger and get out of bed. And then when Grandpa Joe finally gets out of bed, he's able to walk around. Like, I'll tell you, I had COVID for a week, pretty much laying in bed that entire time. When I got out of bed, I'm not sitting there dancing or singing about I have a golden ticket. I'm like hunched over like an old man that's not actually limber. And yeah, it was not fun or pleasant. So
yeah. Yeah. They could do a whole story on how Willy Wonka actually knew Grandpa Joe beforehand, and then Grandpa Joe actually found some kind of device that erased his memory before the events of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Because that's a great writing trope.
Time travel. So Willy Wonka goes to outer space.
Memory erasure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Willy Wonka Furious 12. Anyway, number 4 on the box office, because apparently we were still doing box office during all that shenanigans, is Migration, that duck movie. If that doesn't ring a bell, then I don't blame you.
For a second there, I was like, what's that movie? I was like, oh yeah, the duck movie.
I've seen the trailer for it once.
I don't think I've seen the trailer. I don't think I know. I saw a cardboard standout at the theater that we typically go to. Mm-hmm. That's all I've seen.
Yeah. Number 5 is Anyone But You. That's that Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney rom-com, which some people love and some people hate.
I really haven't heard anything bad about it. I mean, the worst that I've heard about it is people are like, it's a movie. It has pretty people in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 6 is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Number 7, Night Swim. Number 8, The Boys and the Boat. Number 9 is The Book of Clarence. And number 10 is The Iron Claw. The Book of Clarence also just opened this week, so it's opening at number 9.
Aquaman, I believe, is coming out for digital VOD like next week.
Insane.
Which, crazy. Night Swim is a horror movie about a haunted swimming pool. How well do you think that movie is doing? Based off of that premise alone.
Considering it's been out for 2 weeks and it's at number 7, and I'm looking at a worldwide gross of about 31 million. Not good.
I saw the trailer.
Not good, Bob.
I saw the trailer and I was like, no. And then, of course, I wasn't able to go see it in the theater. and I'm still not able to go see it in the theater.
Yeah.
I'll go see anything else. I'm just not able to go see Night Swim. But like, apparently, a lot of people are saying that save your money. So,
what we will be actually very much looking into is how many of the Oscar contention movies are going to be hitting some kind of streaming or
soon,
hopefully some kind of inexpensive video on demand of some sort.
I eagerly want to watch Poor Things and The Iron Claw.
Both of which obviously are still in the theaters. Poor Things was a little bit further down the list, but Iron Claw was number 10 this week. So,
yeah. Anyways, that is it for the box office. So let's get into some movie news. So last week it was announced that there's going to be another Star Wars movie to be canceled pretty soon. This one actually, in all honesty, this one's probably actually going to stick just because of who all's behind it. They announced a movie called The Mandalorian and Grogu. Worst movie title ever. Easily. I love The Mandalorian. I absolutely love Grogu. That is a terrible, stupid name.
Yeah, let's stop right there real quick. So about that title, I actually solved the title issue on Twitter on a tweet that absolutely nobody saw or responded to, because that's usually how it goes. I suggest they call the movie The Mandalorian and the Jedi, or The Mandalorian Jedi, or something like that. Actually, I think I said The Mandalorian Jedi.
Who is backing up all over our parking lot? That is insane.
I don't hear anything, so and neither do the viewers at home. The Mandalorian Jedi is what I wanted to call it because, one, it covers the brand awareness of the Mandalorian. You're still carrying that name over. Two, you are referencing Grogu because he is walking both paths of Mandalorian and Jedi. And three, that is deep, deep lore in the Mandalorian and Jedi culture with Tar Vizsla, the original Mandalorian Jedi who first owned the Darksaber. So there's a lot built in there. I think they should call it The Mandalorian Jedi.
Star Wars, the Baby Yoda movie.
That's ridiculous. You get out of here with that crazy suggestion, you crazy
Here's
kid.
the thing. That's a stupid title also. No offense, William Harold. But I'm willing to bet that would actually work better. It would potentially be more sellable than...
Yeah, I put a lot of butts and seats and a lot of toys on the shelves.
Yeah. That sounds like it's going to be very Grogu forward, as it should be.
Anyway, my recommendation is you call it The Mandalorian Jedi. You're also putting Jedi in the title, and Jedi in the title sells things because how many Star Wars movies have the name Jedi in the title? It's a very Star Wars word. So,
or maybe something like The Hunts, Mandalorian and Grogu. Like, call it something else and put like Mandalorian and Grogu as like a separate type of thing. I don't know.
It's, first of all, the word Mandalorian obviously is made up. I know Jedi is made up too, but Grogu is a made up name, and having these weird made up words that don't fit into our normal vocabulary are kind of weird to name the whole movie after. It kind of feels weird.
That's
if you go
why
back and you look at pretty much all Star Wars movie titles, Jedi is the weirdest word in probably any of them.
But I mean, like, even that, we didn't get Jedi in the title until the third or episode 6, Return of the Jedi. But by then, Jedi had reached a level in like the zeitgeist of pop culture that everyone knows what a Jedi. If you're not a fan of Star Wars, if you're one of those people that's never watched Star Wars, you know what a Jedi is.
I take it back. Revenge of the Sith. Sith was also a weird word too.
But yeah, that's kind of weird. But we'll see. Otherwise, so this movie is directed by Jon Favreau, who created the series, so that makes sense. It is being produced by like Dave Filoni, Kathleen Kennedy. So it's got all the major Lucasfilm heads right now. All of them are involved in it in some form or fashion. So kind of like the joke I was just making, I doubt this is a movie that we're going to see get canceled. It'll probably get pushed around date by date a lot, but it's not likely to be canceled.
I think we're finally on a track with these Star Wars movies. And obviously we're going to be talking about the two others here too. We're on a track with these Star Wars movies that I think they're actually finally securing down which movies they are 100% confident and moving forward on. And I think there's really only 3 right now. And that is this movie, The Mandalorian and Grogu, the Rey movie that's going to be coming out, securing the new Jedi Order, basically. And then Dave Filoni's movie that he's going to be doing to basically wrap up the entire Mando-verse storyline that's kind of going through right now with Thrawn and Ahsoka and everybody. Those are the only 3 movies that I feel confident are actually going to happen right now. And I know that there's at least one. There's probably like 2 outliers right now, but the major one that we've heard of was Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie, which he's already gotten like a logo or some kind of artwork for. I'm not confident that's happening at all. I'm 100% not confident that that's happening. But,
so I was like, originally I was kind of confused. I thought this announcement of The Mandalorian and Grogu would be the Mandoverse movie that Filoni's been talking about that would connect everything. Apparently that's still a separate movie that will also involve the Mandalorian in some form. Ahsoka, who's getting a season 2, thank God.
Yeah, that movie's not happening for a while because we got to go through probably Mandalorian season 4, this movie, and Ahsoka season 2.
Well, so supposedly it looks like that this Mandalorian and Grogu movie may actually be replacing season 4. That looks like that's still up in the air. There hasn't been like any official.
I've seen the talk over it kind of being the season finale basically for season 4.
So they're going to go ahead and still make season 4, and then this movie will take place after season 4.
We'll see.
Here's a problem with that, and it's a problem that a lot of people have with the MCU right now, is that how much homework is involved. This movie, The Mandalorian and Grogu, has massive homework to do. You have to watch. I don't know anything about what this movie's going to do. I guarantee you have to have watched the previous seasons of Mandalorian. You had to have watched Book of Boba Fett and probably Ahsoka, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if Ahsoka maybe has something to do with this movie. If she pops up in a cameo, then possibly. Who knows? But there's going to be homework involved in this. And that was like one of the big issues that a lot of people had with the Marvels, having to go and watch like WandaVision, Miss Marvel, Secret Invasion, potentially.
The benefit here is that we know that the Mandalorian and Grogu are the front and center of this movie, and they are moving forward with this movie in the same vein that if you remember back in the day, like I think this is popular in the 90s to early 2000s, we would have TV shows that we really loved. Mm-hmm. And I say that because that's the time period that when I was younger, I saw this happen. Obviously, it probably happened in the 80s too, maybe even late 70s, where TV shows would be turned into movies all the time. And nobody really complained about homework, or if they did, they kept it to themselves because the internet wasn't really around in full force back in that time. But it's kind of the same vein. It's, we have these TV shows that a lot of people watch, and believe you me, I do believe that Disney would not be moving forward on a Mandalorian movie if the numbers weren't there to back up how much it's been watched on Disney Plus. So I don't think they're entirely worried about people having to go back and do homework. They know that the people have already seen the show anyway, and so they think they can make money off of the people who they confidently know have seen the show already.
And I think that's the same with the MCU. But I mean, the MCU at least is taking the direction of that Marvel spotlight, what they just did with Echo, basically saying that you don't need to have any prior knowledge, which was, I feel like, true about Echo. You didn't necessarily need to know what happened with her in the Hawkeye show.
You got it all in the first episode.
Yeah, they did enough of a flashback to catch you up without you having to go watch all of Hawkeye. But I think it's one of those, if you did watch it, if you have done your homework, if you're a loyal follower of our content type of thing, then you are rewarded for it because you have a much easier time, and you're like smooth sailing right into that story, and you're able to get into it a lot better.
I think the only reason this conversation is around right now is because we have the internet and we have the ability to hear what each other is saying about things like this. And then 2, streaming exists, and we've never done a movie essentially based off of a show that you could only get on streaming, and that entire movie is about what takes place on a show that you only watch if you pay for the subscription service.
So William Harold's got a good point here. I'm thinking back to, and Chris, you'll be able to get this as well. Think back to Star Trek Generations. Neither one of us, for transparency, neither one of us are big Star Trek fans, but we did see Star Trek Generations because our parents are Trekkies.
Mhm.
And so we were kind of forced to watch Star Trek The Next Generation as kids because they were always watching it like every Saturday night. We'd eat dinner in front of the TV. We knew who those characters were. So when we went to go watch Star Trek Generations, there was no, like, I understand Data's an android who's dealing with trying to be more human. So I get the whole storyline of him with the emotion chip in that movie. Like, that makes sense. But that was a thing that if you had gone in to watch Star Trek Generations without knowing really any of the characters from Star Trek The Next Generation, good luck.
Yeah.
You're in the dark with like most of these characters. And that's even worse with First Contact because you don't have any of the backstory of Picard having to deal with the Borg. So
a lot of these movies, though, that are built into franchises are going off the fact that the people who are interested in these movies, who are going to go see these movies, are already aware of the franchise and the characters within the franchise. Like I said, again, Disney has the numbers on how many people have watched all the seasons of Mandalorian so far. Yeah. And if there wasn't a lot of people, or if they didn't feel confident in those numbers, they wouldn't be moving forward on a Mandalorian-centric movie. So,
which I would assume was the same for the MCU, that they have those numbers from those, like the shows I was mentioning, WandaVision, Secret Invasion, Miss Marvel.
Yeah, but the difference there is that the Marvels was already going to happen regardless of those shows, regardless of how many people watched those shows.
Mm-hmm. I guess they were just confident enough in the MCU as a whole to move forward. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Moving forward, though, so what does this mean for the Jedi Order movie that's focusing on Rey? Apparently that's supposed to come out after this.
Yeah, it very likely, because I think they're still working on the final draft of the script right now for that movie,
which I like because it's also going to force them to have to age up Rey a little bit.
Well, then that's already been confirmed. It's going to be taking place like 15 years after Rise of Skywalker.
So delay the movie, make another movie first. That's fine. That works out beautifully.
It works out well. Less stress on the makeup team for what they have to do for Daisy Ridley. I guess. I mean, let's be honest. Daisy Ridley has not changed in what her appearance is since Rise of Skywalker. So they might still have a lot of work to do to try to make her look old. Who knows? But anyway, so yeah, there's been a lot of talk lately. Some people tried to go out online and say that the Jedi Order Rey movie was delayed indefinitely. Some people, I guess, were trying to like start rumors or whatever because they weren't happy with the director's comments and how it is aimed at men and hating men or whatever BS that people make up online. And then like Lucasfilm itself came in like within an hour and squashed all the rumors that it's delayed indefinitely. Like, no, we're still moving forward on it. We're working on the script still. Don't worry about it.
Y'all are just terrible human beings. So, yeah, I'm still eager for that, but I'm okay if this is going to cause them to delay that just for that reason. Like I want a little bit more separation and breathing room between Rise of Skywalker and whatever Rey does next. So,
well, that's the beautiful thing is interconnected stories within the Star Wars universe. There is actually magic to them waiting a while between those stories. So like, let's say real quick, we had the original trilogy, right? Last movie was 81, 83.
Return of the Jedi was 83.
Yeah, 83. Okay. 1999, Phantom Menace. That is a solid amount of almost 20 years right there. Then we have Revenge of the Sith, 2005. And Force Awakens, 2015. 10 years. A whole decade difference between those two. This is what I'm talking about. Like, if you put some space between the movies that are interconnected and have those interconnected characters, Like Rise of Skywalker was 2019, and now we're looking at the Rey movie probably not till 26, 27 maybe.
If not a little bit later. Yeah. That's leaning into the principle absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Absolutely. And I think it works wonders in magic for those specific stories. I don't mind if they want to do every few years, do something like The Mandalorian and Grogu or Dave Filoni's movie. You know, if they want to do that like let's say, give us like a 3-year break between Star Wars movies or something. I think what they did learn, though, is that they didn't want to do a Star Wars movie every single year.
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on to the next big news thing. Next big news, Tom Cruise. I don't know why that rhymed, but apparently, like,
time for your cruise news.
Time for your cruise. That was really good. Anyways, so apparently some of the Tom Cruise news that now you got me doing it that has surfaced over the past couple of weeks. He is in the process of making a deal, or it's not a process. He's actually making a deal with Warner Brothers Discovery to adapt new property that could potentially lead to new franchises for Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers, specifically David Zaslav, sees Tom Cruise and thinks money signs. Which I guess.
Man's in the 60s, but whatever.
I haven't seen anything official, but I'm willing to bet Tom Cruise is just thoroughly pissed off at Paramount for how they handled the last Mission Impossible movie. Like releasing it the week before Barbie and Oppenheimer, and then also failing to secure the IMAX screens for the next week or two, which caused Oppenheimer to go, oh, they're available? Well, don't mind if we do. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt if Tom Cruise is extremely pissed off at Paramount for that. So
these studios need to learn that they're not infallible when it comes to the people that work with them. Note again, WB learned that lesson when they had to deal with Chris Nolan and the release of Tenet, and therefore Chris Nolan went over and made one of his most successful movies ever with Universal called Oppenheimer. So now we're seeing this with Tom Cruise, and WB's like, we're going to take you in over here and we're going to make sure that we treat you right.
So Warner Brothers like, well, we lost Christopher Nolan, but at least we got Tom Cruise.
They're trying.
Yeah. Hopefully they learned their lesson from the Christopher Nolan issue and treat Cruise a little bit better. Here's the thing with Tom Cruise that I always like, that is always funny. I'm not saying necessarily that he should be canceled, but still keep in mind, this is a big proponent of Scientology. And most general public, as far as I've seen, are like, really? Scientology? Okay.
Well, the beautiful thing about people who work with Tom Cruise are like, yeah, we know. We don't care. He's fun to work with.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Tom Cruise has achieved that level. He could be into whatever crazy religion he wants in general. Not saying Scientology is absolutely crazy, but from any person's given viewpoint, he could be into whatever, and we don't care. We like Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise sells movies. So
Lord Zenu's giving us another Mission Impossible movie. Let's go.
So, yeah. So one of the benefits to that, though, is it does potentially lead more into a potential sequel for Edge of Tomorrow, which is easily one of Tom Cruise's best movies. Or at least, maybe not best as far as acting, but it's one of the most entertaining.
It's like a really fun movie.
I put it up there with Minority Report as one of my favorite Tom Cruise movies. So
it's at least one of his most fun or most entertaining action movies for sure.
Yeah. Groundhog Day, only in outer space with like military and aliens and stuff. And Emily Blunt, yes, please sign me up. I want to watch it again. I'm mentioning it and I want to watch it now.
That being said, there's also talk over a Top Gun 3 essentially happening too, which
so that's going back to Paramount.
That's going back to Paramount. That's not WB.
Which would lead me to believe that he may have some kind of a deal inked with Paramount still that he has to abide by. based off of I guess like based off of like whatever they signed him on for Maverick. That like if Maverick was to do good, remember a day when like a studio was probably questioning whether Maverick was going to do good? It's funny. If Maverick did well, we have the option to bring you back for a third one, and that's probably what they're invoking.
Which makes me very nervous. My opinion of that, real quick, makes me very nervous because Maverick was so good, and I am scared that they cannot replicate that magic.
I don't think so either. I completely agree.
But we will see, I guess. This interesting conversation though, because
Cruise needs to make an Austin Powers movie. He did already.
Yeah, it was called what's dang it. My brain's not bringing up the right.
I know. I keep wanting to say Goldfinger, and it's not Goldfinger.
Are you talking about Goldmember?
Goldmember, yeah.
I was thinking of his Les Grossman character.
I know that's the thing. Who has
basically Austin Powers for him?
Who has Tropic Thunder? Who has the rights to that?
There's the movie title. I can't remember. I want
to say that was Warner Brothers.
I mean, there's been rumors out there of him doing a Les Grossman movie.
No, it's
while.
Paramount.
So that who knows if those rumors will ever go through, or if we'll ever see an actual like Les Grossman movie. But
especially the only issue that I would foresee with that is given the environment of movies nowadays, especially with stuff happening over in the Middle East, there was a lot of controversy involved with the Les Grossman character and how he was portrayed in Tropic Thunder. Now, granted, this is a movie that came out in 2008, and we're looking at it from the scope of 2023, 2024, whatnot. We're looking back on that like, there's a little bit of an issue there with the caricature that he played. Tropic Thunder was just rife with that kind of stuff. Simple Jack, people didn't like how he was portraying that because he went full, I'm not saying that word. And then, of course, there was the whole thing about Robert Downey Jr. in blackface, which that one, I can't support that. He is playing a character that thinks that that's a good idea. Like, I can excuse that performance for the logistics of how that movie was being made. That one makes sense. But, yeah, the Les Grossman character, I could see the issues and complaints that people may have with that character.
Their intention for that movie just seems, hey, let's try to get away with as many things as possible that people should not be okay with.
Yeah. And I mean, for the most part, I feel like it succeeded because the stuff that people are complaining about is the things that it was trying to make fun of. It was trying to make fun of Robert Downey Jr. being in blackface. It wasn't trying to celebrate it. It wasn't making it a point. It was trying to make fun of it, which I think that works. So,
and it's trying to obviously talk about. It's trying to talk about the situation that's happened in Hollywood for many older movies too. There have been people who have put on the face of another culture or another race in order to portray a character in a movie, and it's like, why were we okay with that? Why were we ever okay with that?
Oh, Mickey Rooney and Breakfast at Tiffany's? Oh,
that's one of them. That's one of them right there. But yeah, anyway, back to Tom Cruise as a whole here. Supposed to be getting a whole freaking office at WB, so they're going to be treating him right over there. And I think it's crazy that, you know, he's kind of at this point in his life and career where he's getting this kind of a deal in his 60s. And he still looks like he's at least in his 40s.
He said he has no plans to retire. That was another big Tom Cruise news over the past couple of weeks.
The man is absolutely going to die doing a stunt for a movie. 100%.
Yeah.
No, there's no question about it in my mind. That is going to happen. He is not going to die of natural causes. He's not going to die of old age. He's going to die jumping from building to building or riding a motorcycle off of a cliff of some sort.
And that's not meant to put like a bad omen or a curse on him. He's going to be happy to go out that way. I guarantee.
I'm just predicting it. The movie that happens in is going to be an interesting one to talk about. But That's probably how it's going to go. I mean, I'll frame it this way. It sounds like a joke, but let's look at Steve Irwin and how he.
I was just about to say Steve Irwin.
Steve Irwin passed
doing
because
he
was doing something with an animal.
Yeah. I was about to, the second you were about to stop talking, I was about to start talking about Steve Irwin. So good job.
He's going to die the way he wants, bungee jumping from the moon. Exactly.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think we still got, probably almost another solid 20 years of Tom Cruise shenanigans before we might be concerned about something like that. But we'll see. He's going to be one of those guys in his 90s who you see like jogging around the block.
He'll be doing that. In the meantime, we're looking at Johnny Knoxville and the Jackass crew. Like, man, I wouldn't do that at that age. That's right. A little too much even for me. So, yeah. Anyways, moving on. I'm sorry. So, real quick, the issue I have here. Like I really get like self-conscious about some of the jokes that I make on here. Like I'm kind of worried that they make sense in my head, but they're not going to make as much sense or be funny when I say them out loud. So that's something I feel like I just have to deal with. And then I saw the Golden Globes monologue and I don't have any worries about that anymore.
Oh yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine. That being said, here's the thing. I like Joe Coy. I think he's a good comedian. I've seen a couple of his stand-ups. He's funny.
He just should probably stay in his lane.
I don't know. Like, yeah, there's a difference between being a comedian and being a host of an award show.
Yes.
And especially because there has been fact checking. Joe Coy was kind of hired like at the last minute. I think he said it was like 10 days ago. I think it was actually reported that he was notified that he was going to be hosting, and he agreed like 18 days before the awards. So I get that is still kind of like it's really short notice. Looking back at some of the other hosts, a lot of them had at least like a month notice. I think we've already been notified who's hosting the Oscars. The Oscars aren't until March, and I think they made the announcement. I want to say it's Jimmy Kimmel that's hosting the Oscars.
It's Jimmy Kimmel again, yeah.
They made the announcement that he's hosting back in November. Plenty of time for him to be prepared. So I will put some of that problem on the way that the Golden Globes were ran. And granted, this is also the first year that the Golden Globes were not being run by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. So
it's just messy.
There's a lot of inexperience that was going on with that show, and it showed in it. Like a lot of the way the show was ran, I just felt this like amateur hour almost. But for Joe Coy to throw the writers under the bus, ooh, that was a big Hollywood no-no.
I wrote some people wrote others.
Yeah, especially one of the writers like, yeah, so my first job that I got after coming back from the writer's strike, and Joe Coy threw me under a bus. Like, ouch. He's going to have a hard time finding people that want to work with him because that's extremely unprofessional.
Yeah, especially because at least I haven't seen him come out and be like, yeah, in the moment I said that, and I probably shouldn't have. That was probably not the right thing to do. I'm sorry. Like, let's again, can we achieve a level of taking ownership of, your own, responsibilities and everything, taking ownership of what you've done. I don't know if we can ever achieve that in life, but it's very simple. All you gotta do is like, hey, I made that passing comment in the heat of the moment. I was freaking out a little bit in that situation. Maybe it wasn't the right gig for me, and in the moment I just went with something that I thought was going to work, and it didn't. And looking back on it, it was definitely the wrong comment to make, and I understand how it affected some people, and I apologize for that. Very easy to do. Very easy to do. Saves your face too.
It's very similar to like I work customer service. If something goes wrong with a customer, I'm not, and this I've learned like years now. I don't throw the company under the bus. Hey, I'm sorry this happened to you. The company I work for is a total piece of crap. No, you don't ever do that.
No.
What I do is like, hey, I'm sorry to hear that happened to you. You have my sympathies. Let's move on. You don't badmouth the company that you work for, or in this case, you don't badmouth the show that you're hosting, the writers involved. You just don't do that. So that's all on Joe Coy. That's completely on him. Everything else I can understand. It's an awkward position, but that was a bad move.
Suffice to say, Joe Coy's probably not going to be hosting anything anytime soon.
And it sounds like he doesn't want to.
And I wouldn't want to if I was in his position either.
No.
I'd be like, well, that was a fun attempt at doing something different. I don't want to do that ever again.
Once again, I will also always throw out and I know, Chris, you're going to agree with me, Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez right there.
No, you don't always throw that out. You just heard me say that multiple times, and you're jumping on that bandwagon.
Well,
that's my idea.
I am a big fan of the Steve Martin and Martin Short duo because those two just work really well together. I'm adding the Selena Gomez because you have said that a lot.
Out of the two of us, which one of us has watched Only Murders in the Building?
I'm about to start watching it because it sounds delightful. So, anyways, back to the Golden Globes. So we've had both the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice over the past couple of weeks while we were on hiatus. I'm not going to sit here and go through all of them, but I do want to highlight a couple of things with them. I mean, actually, I could speed run through it. So I got Golden Globes. Best Picture, Drama, Oppenheimer. Musical or Comedy was Poor Things. Animated, Boy and the Heron. Foreign Film, Anatomy of a Fall. Cinematic and Box Office Achievement. This was a stupid category, and I don't know if this is what it's supposed to be. That they were awarding it for like the movie that performed the best, and of course it went to Barbie. Do we need an award for that? Like, didn't Barbie just get all the monies in the world?
So I will say yes, only in regards to the fact that it's the Globes, and the Globes aren't like the highest end of award ceremonies to begin with. Yeah. They really are more of a popularity contest. So it makes sense for the Globes to have that kind of an award. What I am confused on is if that award is supposed to go to just whichever movie just slammed the box office that year.
Why would you have other nominees?
Then my question would be, why the heck were there other nominations? Why did you not just give it to Barbie as if Barbie was getting a Lifetime Achievement Award situation?
Like, whenever anyone does a Lifetime Achievement, there's no other nominees. We're just told, like, hey, Morgan Freeman is getting a Lifetime Achievement Award.
At least no other nominees that the public is aware of. Maybe they're kind of having discussions in the back end, like, hey, we have this award this year. Who should we award it to? Yeah. Maybe there's those kinds of discussions, but we're never aware of those. So same kind of a thing.
Best performance, drama, actor went to Cillian Murphy, as it should. Actress went to Lily Gladstone, Killers of the Flower Moon. Best performance in musical or comedy, actor went to Paul Giamatti, as it should. Actress went to Emma Stone. Best supporting. So Golden Globe separates their movies between like the drama and the comedies, except for supporting. Supporting performance is just the one category. Actor went to Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer. Actress went to Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers, as it should.
Show your bias.
Do what?
Show your bias.
I mean, the bias for the ones that I had, first of all, I had already seen, and I was going to be cheering for that person anyways. Other Best Director went to Christopher Nolan. Screenplay went to Anatomy of a Fall. Score went to Oppenheimer. Best Original Song went to Barbie, What I Was Made For by Billie Eilish, someone who I'm very familiar with over this past week. So that was the Globes. Critics' Choice, you might notice a lot of similarities here. We don't talk about the Critics' Choice too much, but I kind of want to start talking about it a little bit more because, I mean, we're trying to talk about movies as potential, at least pundits here on the internet. So Critics' Choice, I feel like, is really, really more in our vein. Best Picture went to Oppenheimer. Director, Oppenheimer, or Nolan. Not Oppenheimer himself. He's not directing a movie. Best Actor went to Paul Giamatti. Actress went to Emma Stone. Supporting went to Robert Downey Jr. Actor went to Robert Downey Jr. Actress went to Divine Joy Randolph. Then they have Best Young Actor Actress went to Dominic Sessa for The Holdovers. Acting Ensemble went to Oppenheimer. Original Screenplay went to Barbie. This is interesting here. Original Screenplay went to Barbie. Best Adapted Screenplay went to American Fiction. There's a lot of issue right now with the Oscars potentially putting Barbie in Best Adapted. And I've said this publicly on Twitter as well. A lot of people were questioning, well, why is Barbie going to Adapted? It's not based off of anything. My argument that I see for it is it's based off of prior IP. My example that I use is the character of Midge in the Barbie movie is pregnant and was a doll that was discontinued because she was a pregnant doll. And at the time, the executives are like, well, no one wants to play with a pregnant Barbie doll. So,
well,
and that might have been actually true, so to speak. But
so
at that time,
it's based off of the Barbie lore. That's what they're that's what they're getting at, is that Ken and Barbie are dating, or boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever. That you have characters like Midge who are married to characters like Alan. Barbie's got a sister. You've got all that stuff. So all that stuff is lore based in the Barbie, over the decades of Barbie dolls being released that we all know about because of the storylines that these Barbie dolls have set up over the course of decades. So
you keep saying lore. You sound like Matt Pat, who's not retiring. That's all he ever talks about is the lore.
Well, that's just a theory, a Barbie theory.
A Barbie theory. Anyways, so yeah, that one's gonna be kind of weird. I'm eager to see when the Oscar nominations actually come out, which I believe
is pretty soon.
I believe it might actually be next week. Yeah. Oscar nominations come out next week. So Tagline next week, we will be talking about those nominations. And yeah, I'm going to use the results of the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice are going to very much inform us on what's potentially going to win at the Oscars.
Because once we got the nominations, we're going to be making predictions.
Yeah. Anyways, cinematography for Critics' Choice went to Oppenheimer. Editing went to Oppenheimer. Costume design went to Barbie. Makes complete sense.
Yep.
Production design went to Barbie. Makes complete sense.
Yep.
Score went to Oppenheimer. Best song. Here's a funny one. Best song at the Critics' Choice went to Barbie for I'm Just Ken. Not What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish.
And produced an interesting meme that's now taking over the internet, which is Ryan Gosling going, wait, really?
Yeah.
And what I like about this real quick is that a lot of people were saying that that's in real time Ryan Gosling realizing he's going to have to perform that song at the Oscars.
Which I think he was going to have to do that anyways, because his song was
on the short list,
likely going to be nominated because it's on the short list, right?
Yeah, it's on the short list. So if it makes it to the actual nominations, guess what we're going to hear at the Oscars?
If it's the same 3 Barbie songs that get nominated, they're going to do a medley. They're not going to do 3 individual songs with like Barbie-esque like set design on stage at the Oscars. They'll do all 3 of them in just one medley.
There's also a world where they just have some other guy who's a professional singer dressed up as Ken and ends up doing the song. But you know that we would all be severely disappointed if it's not actually Ryan Gosling performing at the Oscars.
They'll get Michael Bublé.
In fact, I'm going to go. That'd be hilarious, actually.
That would be great.
Here's the thing. I would actually be disappointed if his entire Ken backup crew isn't there as well. I need everybody who was a Ken in that movie. Maybe not the no-face Kens in the background, but like the ones who actually had lines and whatnot in the movie. I need them to be back there screaming out loud, and so am I, on that Oscar stage.
That's going to be funny. Best hair and makeup, Barbie, as it should.
Yep.
Best visual effects, Oppenheimer. I guess. There was only like really one scene of that entire like 3-hour long movie that needed some kind of a visual effects applied to it. And it was great. It looked beautiful.
I think people get confused when they see the term visual effects. They think that it is computer generated imagery. They think it is like an actual VFX team sitting on a computer working on the visual effects. When in reality, visual effects can be practical effects as well, which is why Oppenheimer's getting the nomination, is because the practical effects of the bomb going off were actually fantastic.
Yeah, and Nolan is someone who relies more on practical than digital, if
As
at
much as
all
possible. Yeah.
So, which that is my argument. I want to see Nolan do a horror movie because it will be a gorgeous horror movie from a special effects standpoint. Like, I want to see that. And that is the quickest way to get my brother to go watch a horror movie, I guarantee.
We'll see. Let's see if it happens first.
Yeah.
It won't.
Best comedy, which is a weird category, I guess. We don't have like best drama or best action or best horror. We just have best comedy at the Critics' Choice, but that went to Barbie. Best animated went to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Hey.
So that's good to see as well. I know a lot of people are really celebrating that movie and kind of disappointed that The Boy and the Heron got it for the Golden Globes. The other one that I will point out for critics over the Golden Globes is Nimona got a nomination. Nimona did not get a Golden Globe nomination, so that was a huge snub. Yeah. And then foreign language film for critics went to Anatomy of a Fall. Kind of disappointing there because one of the other nominations in that was Godzilla -1. So I'm like, oh, come on. That was like the first Godzilla movie that I was actually anxious to see and very much enjoyed. So
yeah, we'll see if Godzilla -1 even ends up in the Oscars. That'd be
hoping. They're about to release they're re-releasing it in the theaters again with a black and white version. It's called Godzilla -1 color.
Of course it is.
And I'm kind of curious as to how that's going to look.
It's going to look like the movie, but black and white.
Yeah, like I get they're meant to. Toho's making it more of a throwback to the original Godzilla movies. Yeah, and it might look kind of cool, but like with the current modern day visual effects, especially that they use in that movie, yeah, I don't know how well that's going to work. But I'm anxious. Like I will probably watch it. But
if it's available for watching at home, yeah, I'm not gonna be one to like go back out to the theaters to see the movie again in black and white. If it's available to like watch your home for fun, I'll do that. But we'll see.
Most of these movies that they do black and white versions, like they did that Zack Snyder's Justice League in black and white. I was like, I'm not watching that. One of the things I like about superheroes is the saturation of colors. Like that's why I like superheroes, because they're all colorful. They're like, kind of look at that type of thing.
I don't know. Anybody out there who has seen the black and white Snyder cut, whatever, is it worth it? I just don't feel like it's worth it. I just don't feel like it's. I don't understand the appeal to wanting to see that specifically in black and white, as opposed to just watch the. To me, it feels like how we're seeing with like Rebel, not to get into the whole Snyder discussion, because why the hell did we end up here? But hey, I'm gonna do a director's cut of a movie that I just put out. Okay, cool. Well, now we got the director's cut out. I'm gonna do another version of my director's cut.
Black and white.
That too.
Now I'm gonna do one where the entire screen is upside down.
I'm gonna do a director's cut of the director's cut. There is going to be, the studio gave me $40 million to add another 8 hours onto this movie.
Justice League, Zack Snyder's cut, now with more Dutch angles.
Kenneth Branagh came in and was supporting director.
So it's kind of weird. Anyways, so the Oscar nominations are next week. We will be covering those. Expect that to be probably the main topic next week. I'm anxious to talk about those, so hopefully we get to see some more of these potentially nominated movies. I think for the most part, I'm really just wanting to watch Iron Claw and Poor Things before the Oscars. We will be doing an Oscars watch along again. That's not until March. And I know, as previously mentioned, we will also be doing our own award show. So we will have more details on that once we figure out what they are. So Hey, I only wrote like some of these jokes, and those are the ones you're laughing at. So
The other jokes,
someone
he
else
also
wrote
wrote.
that we're throwing under a bus.
The other jokes he also wrote.
Anyways, so yeah, that's gonna do it for Tagline. I will say right off the bat before we get into like recapping a lot of stuff or whatever, I want to have a big shout out to anyone who has gone over to my YouTube channel and has watched the videos that I put out for my channel trailer, all the little trailers I did that weekend, the main channel trailer, and this past week I did the reaction to Billie Eilish's Bad Guy. Very much appreciate everyone who viewed, commented, share it, anything you can do to help that grow. I'm wanting that to do very well. So I do have a plan for the next video. It's going to be very tasty, I'm hoping. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of weird out of
I
context.
was like, that's a very odd descriptive word there.
It's a very weird adjective.
I know what you're doing, so it makes sense.
Yeah, it's a really weird adjective out of context, but it's going to be food related for right now. So anyways, if you haven't gone over to see it, go over to see it. It is the youtube.com/@RCA Reacts. Leave a comment on there. What else would you like me to react to? Not just Billie Eilish songs. I think I got enough of those as is. So anyways, let's bring it back to Cinefanatics. Recapping what we've got going on. So next week after the Tagline, we will be doing our Patreon trivia hangout. This month, it's different. We're going to be broadcasting it live so everyone can watch the patrons participating, and we are doing trivia over the Marvel Cinematic Universe phase 1 through 3. So if you would like to join us at patreon.com/cinefanatics. You have to hop on the $5 tier. There's a $1 tier and a $5 tier. Hop on the $5 tier. You can join us for that trivia next week. That will be airing live January 24th, 8 Pacific, 11 Eastern after the Tagline. So make sure you go sign up on the Patreon for that if you want to participate.
If you want to play, if you want to be in the live broadcast, we're just making that clear. If you want to be on the live broadcast, make sure you are signed up on that Patreon at that $5 tier by next Wednesday.
Yep. Anyways,
otherwise, you can come hang out with us when we air it live and hang out in the chat and watch it and enjoy it, and then decide, hey, that looks like fun. I want to be a part of their Discord trivia matches that they do every week, and then you can sign up for the Patreon there.
Yep. And then also this month on January 31st, after the Tagline, we will be doing the the Patreon watch along, where we are watching a movie and we'll sit there and all hang out and talk about it, joke about it, whatnot. Just have a good time watching a movie together. Don't know what movie that is. We should have that figured out here in the next day or two. But that is going to be January 31st at 8 Pacific, 11 Eastern. Also coming up Friday, January 26th is going to be our yearly marquee about anticipating movies. This is going to be our most anticipated movies of 2024. This should be a lot of fun. I remember really enjoying last year's anticipated, and especially because we get to begin that episode with reviewing what we were highly anticipating last year and how the year actually turned out. That's going to be fun this year as well. So
yeah, because there's a couple of movies I think that we weren't anticipating that we ended up anticipating very highly.
Yeah, and then there's some that we were highly anticipating that just complete crap fest. So
yeah.
So we'll have fun with that. Come join us again. That is going to be Friday, January 26th, 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. Otherwise, that is going to do it for our show tonight. So make sure you come follow us at the Cinefanatics on Twitter and Instagram. Also on TikTok, as we're doing out of the theater reactions, maybe short clips of a trailer reaction. Those are all popping up on the Cinefanatics, including some rankings as we see fit to do them. Let me backtrack just a moment. If you are watching this live, we very much appreciate you watching it. If we're watching it on a replay, let us know your thoughts, feelings down below in the comments. Make sure while you're down there, you hit the like button and subscribe. And again, follow us on social media at the Cinefanatics. You can follow me on social media at RCA Reacts. No longer MLP. It's the RCA Reacts on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, I will be making TikTok content pretty soon. Don't have anything up there yet, but follow me on there as well as Letterboxd at RCA Reacts and youtube.com/@RCA Reacts, of course.
It's got a lot going on over there. You can follow me at Chris Adams MLP for a little while longer until I figure out what I want to change my name to, because it seems to be the trend now. We did it with Cinefanatics. He did it with his name. I'm going to do it with my name too. At Chris Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, as well as twitch.tv/Chris Adams MLP.
Yep. Anyways, that's going to do it for this episode. Welcome back to 2024. We very much appreciate you being here. We will see y'all next week for the tagline. Good night.
Bye.